Have you ever looked at someone who just seems to, I don't know, effortlessly manifest abundance or great opportunities or even just this profound sense of peace, while others, maybe even you, struggle, no matter how hard they seem to push? It's one of those questions, right? Makes you wonder if there's some secret handshake to life. And well, if you're like me, your first thought might be, oh, they're just lucky, or wow, they must be working themselves to the bone, or maybe even, it's all just random. But what if I told you it's none of those things? The really astonishing truth, and this comes from the profound source material we've been digging into, is that reality isn't this fixed, solid thing. It's actually, believe it or not, programmable. And when you figure out how to truly hack it, you can fundamentally transform your circumstances from the inside out. This isn't just, wishful thinking. It's about deciphering an inner code, a code that dictates your entire experience. So today, our mission for this deep dive is to explore exactly what that inner code is and how the universe kind of incredibly mirrors our internal state with such precision. This deep dive comes to you by hackingdestiny.net.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating here, I think, is that this whole approach isn't about trying to escape reality or, deny your current situation. That's a common misconception, I find. Instead, it's really about learning to work with reality, but on a much deeper, more fundamental level. It's about uncovering those unseen forces, those hidden beliefs, the energetic frequencies that are actually driving your experiences, and then, strategically realigning them. It really sets the stage for a huge shift, not just in what you do, but in who you fundamentally are.
Okay, wow. That immediately sparks like a dozen questions for me. Let's try and unpack the core concept right away.
Yeah.
When we say hack reality, I mean, it sounds incredibly powerful, almost like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? So for you, what does it truly mean to hack reality in this specific context?
Hey, it does have that futuristic ring, doesn't it? But the analogy, it's actually surprisingly fitting. To hack something, basically, is to bypass the normal system, find a kind of backdoor, and then take control of its core functions. Think of it like getting administrator access to the operating system of your life. So, when we apply this to reality, it's about uncovering those hidden beliefs and subconscious codes that are literally running your life, often totally without your conscious awareness. It's not really about changing the outside stuff directly. It's about realigning your internal world, your thoughts, your energy, to perfectly match the outcomes you really want. And the crucial insight here, which the source material emphasizes so powerfully, is that the universe mirrors your internal state, not just your effort or what you say you want, which means when you genuinely shift your internal frequency, your vibration, your external world, well, it basically has no choice but to adjust. It's a fundamental principle.
Right. So it's almost like we're all running on some kind of default program, maybe one we didn't even choose, and hacking reality is about getting that admin access to rewrite it. That makes so much sense, especially when you think about how often people get stuck in the same frustrating patterns, like a loop. But if we're all running on this default program, what makes it so hard to just, hit delete and install something new? What's the biggest internal hurdle people face?
That's a really excellent question. And it gets to how subtle this work can be. Often the biggest barrier is just the invisibility of those default programs. They're subconscious, right? Deeply ingrained patterns formed over a whole lifetime conditioning, experiences, what society tells us, they just run in the background, shaping how we see things, how we react, long before our conscious mind even weighs in. We don't even realize we're operating from old software because it just feels like the way things are. Normal. That's precisely why the source material lays out this structured approach, breaking it down into what it calls the 3 levels of reality hacking. These levels are designed to systematically tackle those hidden barriers.
A structured approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds incredibly helpful, especially when you're dealing with something so fundamental like our own internal programming. Can you walk us through those 3 levels? Do they kind of build on each other?
Absolutely. Think of them like building blocks. Each one deepens your ability to influence your reality from the inside out. They're definitely interconnected, and mastering one really helps with the next. So the first level is mental reprogramming. The core idea here is, well, it sounds simple, but it's incredibly profound. Your beliefs are the code. Reality responds to what you truly believe deep down, not just what you say you want or even consciously intend. For instance, if deep down there's a subconscious belief like, I'm not good enough or I'm not really worthy of abundance, you'll often, without realizing it, create situations that prove that belief right. You might self-sabotage or miss opportunities, or just find yourself in circumstances that validate that core feeling, even if your conscious mind is screaming for the opposite. The real insight isn't just that beliefs matter, but that most of our operating beliefs, we didn't consciously install them. They often came in during childhood, shaping things on autopilot. autopilot, even when we want something different now. This inner code is rarely what we think.
Wow. Okay, that's a huge shift in perspective right there. It's like running on ancient software we didn't even install ourselves, maybe inherited or just absorbed years ago. And we don't realize it's still dictating our actions and tracking our experiences. Yeah. I love that the source prompts us to ask, who told me this was true? Because that really forces you to dig into where those programs even came from.
Precisely. And to work on this level, the source suggests a few really practical tools. One is using affirmations with feeling. It's not just reciting words, it's about feeling the truth of the affirmation, letting it resonate in your body. Another is journaling identity statements, writing down who you are becoming, focusing on the being state, not just the having. And like you just said, actively questioning old beliefs, asking, who told me this was true? Is this really my truth now? That helps you spot and challenge those ingrained programs holding you back. Then, moving on, the second level is emotional calibration. This builds right on the mental stuff because your emotions, they're what truly generate your vibration. And it's that vibration, that energetic signature that the source tells us communicates directly with the quantum field. It's how your internal state literally broadcasts a signal out to the universe.
That's fascinating that our emotions are the language the universe gets. It's not just thinking, but how we feel about our thoughts and how those feelings create a vibration. You mentioned the quantum field. That's a term people hear a lot, but maybe don't fully grasp. How should we think about it here?
That's a great point. It can sound complex. For this context, think of the quantum field as the invisible underlying energetic fabric of all reality, like a field of pure potential from which everything physical manifests. Our emotions, by generating a specific frequency or vibration, are thought to be the language that shapes this potential into what we actually experience. And it's less about forcing positivity and more about understanding that your resistance, your doubts, your fears, your judgments, that's the real energetic blocker. Releasing resistance is often more powerful than chasing a specific positive feeling. So to raise that emotional frequency, to communicate more clearly, the source gives us some tools. Meditation to clear resistance is huge. It helps quiet the mental noise and release those emotional blocks, lowering your vibration. Another one is practicing gratitude, but not just like a list. More like a genuine state of being, embodying gratitude, feeling it deep down rather than just ticking things off mentally. And maybe the most powerful, actively choosing to feel like it's already done, your desired reality. Feel those emotions now. It's not pretending. It's cultivating the emotional state of having it already. And then we arrive at the third level. According to the source, this is the most powerful level of all, identity shifting. This isn't just about what you believe or feel. It's about who you fundamentally embody. The core action here is asking yourself daily, who would I be if this were already true?
Okay, that's where it gets really interesting because it moves beyond thinking or feeling into pure being, this identity shifting. Yeah. It's really about, but for the listeners who might feel this huge gap between where they are now and that desired identity, what's the very first, maybe smallest step they can take to embody that future self authentically without feeling like they're just faking it?
Yeah, that's crucial. Authenticity is key here. The source isn't saying pretend, it's saying walk, talk, and act like the version of you who's already living that life. The smallest step often is just making one decision from that future identity. So if your future self is, say, a really healthy person, the smallest step today might be choosing water over soda, but doing it easily, like it's just who you are. If your future self is a successful entrepreneur, maybe it's researching one specific mentor or sending that one email you've been putting off, but doing it from a place of already being successful, not from struggle. By fully embodying that future identity now, in small ways, you basically accelerate your path there. The source explains this is how you collapse timelines and override your current limits. It becomes the most potent form of hacking reality.
Wow. Okay, this is truly mind-bending, but in the best possible way. And it really shifts things from abstract ideas to something you can actually do, something you can embody. But for listeners who might still be thinking, okay, this sounds amazing, but is there any science behind this magic? The source material does touch on some pretty fascinating scientific backing, right? What makes this real beyond just a powerful philosophy?
That's a really important question. And yeah, this is where these powerful ideas start to intersect with modern science in interesting ways. The source points to a couple of fields. First, neuroscience. It gives us some profound insights. Like our brains, they genuinely don't know the difference between vivid imagination and actual reality. When you visualize something clearly, feeling it, your brain processes it much like it's really happening. It creates the neural pathways for that experience. That's why mental rehearsal works so well for athletes, musicians. Plus, neuroscience tells us that our subconscious mind controls, up to 95% of our daily behavior?
95%, that's huge.
Exactly. So those deep-seated beliefs and programs, they're running the show most of the time without us even noticing,
Yeah.
which perfectly highlights why that mental reprogramming is so critical. You're literally changing the brain's operating system. Then second, there's quantum physics. Now, this field is incredibly complex, and we're using analogy here, but the principle often drawn from it, that observation affects outcome, that consciousness is linked to reality, it suggests this deep interconnectedness. It hints at how our focused internal state, our energy, our frequency, might actually influence the possibilities in our external world. What's really cool is the synthesis. When you combine focused thought plus genuine emotion plus deep belief plus aligned action, you're not just thinking differently. The source suggests you are literally coding a new outcome. It's a complete energetic and neurological shift, aligning your entire being.
That scientific angle really helps ground it all, doesn't it? It turns manifesting from something potentially vague into something more like a practical, almost scientific process. Less mystical, more like a skill you can actually cultivate. Okay, so we've covered the what and the why. Let's get super practical now, the how. For someone listening right now thinking, okay, I want to hack my reality today. What's a concrete step they can take, like immediately? Is there a daily ritual, something simple to get started?
Absolutely. And the source provides a really simple but potent reality hacking ritual. It only takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Super accessible for anyone, no matter how busy. Okay, here are the 4 steps. You could literally do this right after listening. 1, visualize. For about 2 minutes, just clearly visualize your desired reality. See it, taste it, hear it, feel it. Make it vivid in your mind, like a movie scene. 2, feel. This is crucial. Genuinely feel the emotions of that reality right now. The joy, the peace, the excitement, the gratitude. Feel it as if it's already here. That's the energetic broadcast. 3, affirm. Then, state a truth aligned with that vision. Something like, I am already living in alignment, or I am the person who effortlessly creates abundance. Affirm your identity in that new state. 4, act. Finally, and this is key, take one small aligned action today from that version of yourself. This bridges the inner shift with the outer world. If it's a career goal, maybe it's sending that one email, but from a place of confidence. If it's health, maybe choosing one healthy snack or doing 5 minutes of movement you enjoy.
That's incredibly practical.
Right.
I really like how accessible that is.
Yeah.
It empowers you to start small, build that momentum. And the emphasis on consistency, intensity, that's so important, right?
Absolutely.
It's the small daily things that add up over time, like tiny code changes, eventually transforming a whole program. And energy first, then action. That really flips how most of us approach goals. Focus on the internal state before the external effort.
It truly does. It highlights that the internal energy, the feeling state, actually precedes and informs the most effective action you can take. And if we zoom out, it just underscores that core message from our source material. You're not stuck. You're definitely not broken. You're just running on some old software you probably didn't even know was running. And the amazing news, the really empowering takeaway from all this is you can absolutely rewrite it. Hacking reality isn't about escaping this world or pretending problems aren't real. It's about learning how to work with the very fabric of reality, but on a deeper, more conscious, more intentional level.
So what does this all boil down to for you, listening right now? It means the matrix, as the source kind of playfully puts it, is malleable, it can be changed, and you are the glitch in the system potentially. The one who wakes up, starts breaking the old rules, and begins to bend reality with intention. So I really encourage you to just ponder this. How can you apply these insights starting today? What's one belief you can question? What's one emotion you can deliberately cultivate? What one tiny identity shift can you embody to start bending your reality? For more information on the topic, visit hackingdestiny.net. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today.
It's been a real pleasure. Until next time.